Captain Dale Dye is a retired Marine and KFI's military analyst. He says he remembers being caught off guard in 1975 when the fall of Saigon happened, but he knew based on politics the fall of Afghanistan was bound to happen. We are a nation of blamers. We've always been a nation of blamers. Is there any one person, agency, entity to blame for all of this, or is there just too much to spread around?
You know, you're right. We are a nation of blamers. We want a scapegoat. When we screw up, we want somebody to point a finger at and say, it's your fault. You need to pay the penalty. I wish there were one person. I really do, because it would help us focus. As a nation, it would help us focus our anger. But the truth of the matter is, this went on for 20 years. So that's 3 or 4 administrations. I don't think there's a single entity at which we can point our finger and say, your fault. I think there is blame to go around. I think the politicians didn't understand that you cannot change a nation like Afghanistan with a snap of your fingers or a big influx of cash and advisors and that sort of thing. They're not going to change. It's a tribal situation. So I think there are politicians to blame. I think there are soldiers, military people to blame, who failed to stand up to those politicians and say, look, this is not a military thing. We're not doing this right. We're not nation builders. We're war fighters. So let us fight the war and then walk away. If you guys want to pour money into it, like pouring piss out of a boot with the directions written on the heel, do that, but don't get us involved. And we failed to do all of those things. I wish there was one person we could point to, Steve. I really do, because I'd like to go strangle him or her. But there isn't. And this blame has got to be shared. We will spend another decade pointing fingers. Your fault, my fault, his fault, her fault. That's the nature of our representative democracy. But it's frustrating.
There is this notion that all of a sudden the Taliban had come out to be this new woke, politically correct entity now. Do you trust that the Taliban is working in the right direction, or do you think this is all smoke and mirrors?
Smoke and mirrors, absolutely smoke and mirrors. Anybody who thinks that the Taliban takes over in Afghanistan and Sharia law will no longer apply, that females will be given an appropriate and equal place in society, that there will be some opportunity for free speech, there will be some opportunity for freedom of assembly. Anybody who thinks that is blind as a bat. That's the tribalism that eventually defeated us. We built a house of cards over there. And in the case of the Afghan military, look, you can throw all the weapons and material and training you want, but unless you have motivation, unless you're able to train a dedication to an ideal into those folks, none of that makes any difference. None of the weapons and the money and all that sort of thing, it makes any difference. And I think it's the same in Afghanistan. Men and women are trying to survive. And survival, it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The first thing they got to do is survive. Then they got to worry about eating. Then they got to worry about shelter. And way down on the list of things is social change. And the Taliban is not going to allow that. Anybody who thinks they will is daydreaming. They have won a significant victory. And with that victory comes their will, and they will impose that will on the people of Afghanistan.
Dye has been on assignment in London, but he recalls vividly the day in 1975 when Saigon collapsed, and the hellacious treatment he says he and his colleagues got on their return to the U.S.
And I tell you one of the things that I'm absolutely dedicated to, Steve, what happened to us in 75, us being Vietnam veterans, and the embarrassment that we had to put up with, the unwillingness to talk, the unwillingness of our fellow Americans to support us. I'm dedicated to not let that happen to these young men and women who served in Afghanistan, Iraq, But I'm afraid we're going to see it, and there are folks who are talking to me right now who did 2, 3, and 4 deployments in Afghanistan, and they're saying, "Captain, what the hell was that about? Why did I go over there? Why did I lose my pals? Why did I lose an arm? Why did I lose a leg? What was it about? What was it?" And I remember asking every one of those questions in 1975. So we've gotten ourselves in that situation again. My only hope is, and one of the things that I'm going to be working hard to help with, is that we cannot let those men and women who were in uniform, carrying out their orders, doing what they thought the nation wanted them to do, we cannot let them suffer because our leaders, both in uniform and out of uniform, simply didn't do it right.
For Wake Up Call, I'm Steve Gregory, KFI News.